welcome to Hypothetically Intentional. We ask the question, what if we set intentions with everything we do? I'm your co-host, Michelle, and today we have Lee Smart back with us again, and we've had a pretty great conversation the last few episodes, so let's see where we go today. Hi, Lee.
Howdy-o.
Welcome back. You want to start with the
Welcome back.
intentions
I
this
think it's
time?
fun that we're doing this. I think it's fun that we're doing this during the solar eclipse.
Me too.
Hmm.
Me too. I actually was thinking about that today. I was like, dang, we're recording during the eclipse. That's
Yep,
amazing,
right in the middle of it. So,
right? Smack dab in the middle.
all right, what you want to do?
You
You
want
want
to
to you
you
want
want
to
to set the
coach to
intention? We
set
got to
the
set an
intention.
intention.
All right. So I typically love to keep my intention for all things that I do somewhat similar.
Yeah.
I want to be open. I
Hmm.
want to have fun. I just want to play,
I'm with
and
you.
but also to do those things and come out with something truly magical in the moment.
I love it. I'm all in on that intention. I'm all in on that intention. I'm similar. I show up intentionally, and often my intentions are very much the same, right? I want to be brave enough to be me, right? I want to be
Hmm.
kind and playful and open and see where it goes. And I don't even know that I necessarily have it as part of my intention, but I feel like I always learn something unexpected. And I love that.
Hmm.
And I think that happens when you're open,
Yep.
you
Yep.
know?
Open is one of the key words to it. Last time we spoke, my intention was to come in and coach and try to just help you gain some insight into your own life.
Yeah.
My intention this time is to come in and be an open book and be vulnerable and be willing to be led.
Beautiful. I love that. So we're switching hats, so to speak. Although
Yep.
last time we did talk a little bit about how when you go in with like a direct objective, it can kind of get in the way. It's almost like it's an obstacle. So I definitely want to be playful and dance today.
Hmm.
And I will say, I find that when both parties are open and willing to be vulnerable, I'm going to add that because that's huge. Um, Gosh, we go to some pretty amazing, fantastic places. And you mentioned play a couple times. I kind of want to start there
Hmm.
because you and I have danced with this a little bit. You've opened up and gotten vulnerable in private. And if I go anywhere where you don't want to go, please tell me and we won't air this part, right? Um, but you've talked about inner child stuff, and you've talked about seeing some things from your childhood that I don't know if I would say has surprised you, but that have come forward and now you're looking at them and it's maybe showing you some things about how you show up today. Do you want to talk about that a
Hmm.
little bit? I would love to hear more about it. So,
Okay. So I'll give you just the overview of it. I signed up with Ken Mossman and his IM program, and it's a program to help men integrate all the different facets that we have of ourselves and lead life with intention and start to really bring these stories forth that are from our past and choose from this point forward, okay, these stories have been controlling us. Let's do the things necessary to uh, um, create the life we want. Because we're going to look at these things and we're going to decide from that place what we want to start to move to. So the first thing that happened was we did a visualization on bringing our inner child and getting in touch with our inner child. And there was in the visualization, it literally brought me to tears
mm,
because of how many painful memories started to pop up that I haven't thought about in a while. There was one specific memory of my mom came to pick up me and my younger brother. I'm sorry. She came to pick up me. My younger brother was in the car. And when she got there, I noticed she had been drinking heavily. And I pulled him out of the car. It's like, we're not going with you. We're gonna stay here. And she literally fought me, like fist fought me over
oh wow.
staying there. And Sure enough, when she left, I stood my ground, right? We stayed where we were, and when she left, she managed to total that car and broke several bones in her body. I was thinking about how many times we've had to be picked up by
Oh,
my grandmother, because my mom was too intoxicated to take care of us. And, you know, how many times she would holler at me for making too much noise because she was still in bed at 11 o'clock, noon. Um, and so many things came up because of it. And then there was also the bits about what kind of stories have you heard? Do you remember from that period about what it is to be a man? And the memories about, hey, get off your lazy ass, get to work. Um, Suck it up, boy. It's time for you to toughen up.
mhm.
Look here, you stupid motherfucker. You ain't nothing but a little goddamn prick. All these stories started to pop up, and it just, oh man, I started to realize how much of my life was driven by all those messages that I received. A man is meant to get to work and just bury all his feelings, and you know, you don't deal with those things. You just pretend like they don't exist because that's tough.
Right.
Hmm. So,
Yeah. That's well, and knowing what I know about your story, that you had a business where you worked yourself
mhm.
to death, right?
Yep.
And like,
Continuously ignored what my body was telling me for
yeah,
years because you just got to push through it. Just got to work harder. Push, go, move, push, go. Just keep working. Work harder. You're not getting what you want. Work harder. And then,
yeah.
uh, so it showed up in my body first. Like I went to the doctor many times. Was diagnosed with multiple autoimmune disorders, ankylosing spondylitis, which is inflammation in the SI joint of lower back, um, low back pain for years. I remember low back pain showing up whenever I was still preteen.
Oh, wow.
Um, yeah, it was that early. Hashimoto's thyroiditis. I was exhausted all the time, and I start to look at the stress adaptation cycles. Like, um, I was so addicted to stress that if I didn't have it, I was uncomfortable. So I would force myself into stressful situations. All my jobs were like very stressful, putting out fires, constantly reacting. And I felt great when I was in that moment because it was just like this state of drive and push and go. But eventually, if you don't allow yourself to come down naturally, because I would get so for every peak, for every high, there was a corresponding or lower trough.
Right.
And I would force myself into those troughs with various drugs and um, be it alcohol or pornography and masturbation and all the things that we do to try and artificially calm ourselves. They were all there in various forms throughout all of it. Um, so what's the point I'm trying to get at is I'm looking back at where all that came from and all the cycles that started from it and all the work that I need to do personally for me now is to regulate my nervous system.
Mm. Because that's an unknown for you. So when you like started seeing all those things, did you start connecting dots? Did you like pull it all forward and start connecting dots? Because you're pretty aware and doing what you do, I can imagine pretty rapidly you connecting dots of like, oh, that makes sense why I show up in this way, or that makes sense why I resist this thing. Or, I mean, did you find yourself doing that? Or were you really just in the memories of what was and you haven't spent a lot of time bringing it into like why it might be impacting your now?
It's interesting how it works out in that the same problems can show up wearing different clothes.
Oh gosh.
Even knowing what I know now, I'm finally getting to the root of everything now, finally. But previously, I would fix something and then something new would show up that was just a different flavor of whatever the old issues were. Um, like I still think of myself at being in the beginning of my journey, even though I'm a decade and a half into my self-improvement journey. I've been a self-improvement junkie for a long time. Um, oh man. So it's these cycles. So previously the cycles were get up in the morning, load up with caffeine, load up with nicotine, push, drive, work, respond to whatever showed up, put out fires all day, end up so exhausted and spent by the end of the day, but ain't tired but wired,
Mm,
completely wired. So then I would artificially try and calm myself by whatever means that was available to me. So for years it was alcohol, um, and I burn out. I burn out hard. I ended up in the hospital and lost 40 pounds in 3 months. I've had a massive, massive sharp chest pain, heart palpitations. I literally thought I was going to die. Last year, I had a friend with all the same symptoms died.
oh, wow.
That's how close I ended up to dying. And the perspective shift that can come with a near-death experience is unbelievable. In that hospital bed, all I wanted to do was create awesome memories with my wife and kids and just to do cool shit with cool people, like what we're doing right now,
Yeah.
to help people through that suffering that I went through.
I think there's something to be said for being far enough through the suffering to really make it like there's a drive in you to really want other people to not have to be in that place.
Mhm.
I think it's a beautiful thing and I think it's on some levels an unfortunate thing, right? But I don't know if I really believe that because I think I'm grateful for the pain and the traumas that happen because they're a reason I can help people come out of similar pains and traumas, you know? And I think somebody's got to do it first. I'm not saying I did it first or you were doing it first. I'm not saying that we're like the first people to do it, but we're before the people we're helping, you know? And because we could do it first means we can hold space for others. You said something that I thought was really, it's one of the key pieces in personal development that I find and healing that I find magical when you see it. It's one of those things like once you see it, you can't unsee it things, but then it's kind of like, well, now what? What do I do with it? You talked about if you weren't in a heightened stress state, it was uncomfortable.
Mhm.
And it's like when we're in that healing journey, it's like the discomfort of the known is so much more comfortable than what what the healed might look like. I've never met anybody who hasn't been there.
Mhm.
We would rather stay in that comfortable known state than to evolve out of that pain point because well there's a million layers as to why we might be there and maybe you know yours, right? But like do we not want to move into that healed place because we think we don't deserve it? Is it because we're fearful of what we might lose because of it? Is it because we don't think we actually have the courage or the wherewithal to get there? Is it like there's so many different layers, but also there's only so many layers of why we resist coming out of that known comfort of the pain
Mhm.
into that healed place of, I say healed, I don't mean like everything is all like daisies and roses and we're good, but it's definitely, there is something about understanding that you don't have to live in that pain point and that you can slow down. You don't have to be busy all the time to keep hiding from the inner child that wants to come out and play. Because what I heard in your story is your inner child never fucking got to play. You were an adult. You were required to be an adult because your mom wasn't able from a very young age. So, as a child, how often did you actually get to truly play without the worries and the concerns and the, not knowing whether your mom, like, were you going to have to step up and be the parent?
Oof. I'm not sure what all to unpack there, but one of the things that want to bring up is this bit about uh, what's certain is comfortable. It's almost
Mm,
like we sit in our own pile of shit because it's got our back, and we're sitting in it, and it's nice and warm and cozy because we've been sitting in it for so long. And to get up out of it would mean the wind would blow on our backside and make it kind of uncomfortable.
mm.
And it's that fear of the what is uncertain is greater than the pain of what is already here.
Yeah. Until,
Yeah.
until you see it, until you know it,
Mhm.
until you survive it, so to speak.
Yeah, so there's a lot to unpack there, and I realize now that one of my biggest saboteurs is the avoider. That
Mm,
one that it's kind of like that dissociative presence that's how we're going to deal with the problem is by pretending it doesn't exist.
right. I think I find over time that coaches, healers, people who are seekers who really like to learn and educate themselves, so often that is their coping mechanism.
Mhm.
It's how we keep hidden what we don't want to reveal. Well, if I
Yeah.
just learn another thing, then I don't have to look at that pain point that's been sitting there all my whole life. If I just learn another tool, I mean,
Yeah.
it'll magically happen if I learn how to help others do it, right? Like I think we
Yep.
tell ourselves that on a subconscious level. I don't even think we do it consciously necessarily.
Well, we teach what we need to learn for sure.
Oh, 100%.
No.
Yeah.
Um, I know for me, I would have times where I could dissociate from the problem so much so that it wasn't a conscious choice. It was literally the problem would disappear from my consciousness.
Right. You buried it.
Hmm. Whatever it was, be it like a title issue for a car.
Mm.
The thought of calling the DMV and having to deal with that is painful for me because I don't want to have to deal with those people and take that time away from whatever I think I'm supposed to be doing. So instead of dealing with it, I'll put that piece of paper that the DMV sent away, and then poof, it's gone until I go to renew my license. And then
And
it's
then
like,
you,
hey, guess what? Now
yeah,
you have to deal with this.
right. Procrastination. It just makes the pain worse sometimes, most times.
It's the avoidance of pain. And I know I've said it before and I'll say it again. Whenever we avoid our pain, those wounds fester.
Oh,
And yeah, they don't go away. This used to happen all the time whenever I was a mechanic. I would have people come in and they would have this various issue or noise or whatever, and their check engine light would be on, and they would have a piece of tape over the dash.
oh my God, that's so funny. It's like a toddler closing their eyes playing peekaboo, going, "You can't see me because my eyes are closed and I can't see you." Oh,
Hmm. Um, I'm not even sure how to unpack all the stuff that I'm going through right now, but um, I kept noticing that even though I would fix my problems, they would show up in different clothes. And I'll go back to this point. Like it was, before it was massive amounts of caffeine and then trying to numb in the evening with alcohol. Got rid of all that. I quit nicotine, I quit caffeine, I quit alcohol. Significant amount of work went into doing those things. And then next thing I know, I'm addicted to CrossFit and exercise. And then I
keep filling the
accidentally,
space.
yeah.
Do you
And
ever
then
allow space? Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
yeah, well, then I also found out that I was addicted to kratom for a little while on accident. Had no idea that kratom was addictive. I had somebody came in and fixed me a shake with some in it, and I felt wonderful. It was great. It was one of the best feelings I ever had. Like, just, but I had that voice in the back of my head, so this shit's dangerous. Don't do that.
And
I
you
didn't
didn't
listen to it.
listen. Yeah.
So next thing I know, I'm addicted to the highs of the exercise and then counteracting those highs with the kratom. And come to find out, kratom's basically just an opiate.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And then a little got a little more and a little got a little more. And then all of a sudden I would, if I had quit it, I would have massive withdrawals within about 5 hours. I would be non-functional. So I ended up having to take it multiple times a day just to keep functioning. And I was able to kick it. I ended up having to get help to do it because I tried 4 times to quit. I ended up having to have professional help to quit. But it was that moment I went, holy crap, here I am again in this same behavior cycle.
You know what
Oh
just came?
shit, what's here?
Yeah. You know what just came in for that? And you can take it or leave it. But what I heard is you're really good at finding ways to fix your coping mechanisms, right? To heal those, to stop those, to do that. But how often do you spend time like going within and looking at like the little boy,
hmm
the
I had
pain
never
points?
I had never looked at the little boy and really, really, really truly dug into the past.
Yeah,
Um, and that's an interesting point in that where's the line between therapy and coaching?
fair. Yeah.
And I thought for years, I thought that all I needed was a coach because we have this box and it contains everything from our past. And many times this box is what controls what makes our decisions, what lies in the box controls what. So then we say, okay, I'm going to set this box aside. I'm going to choose differently. I'm going to go and I'm going to create the path that I want. And I had that mindset for years and years. And this is a new development for me of that, oh shit, we actually need both. I need to both deal with what is in that box and have the coach to define what my future is.
I wonder, have you spent any time? I don't, the question is like formulating as I'm speaking. Um, like the old stories that you used to tell yourself about being busy, be a man, pull your britches up, right? Like all those things.
Mhm.
Have you spent any time like assessing, I guess I'm going to say assessing or really getting to know what your definition of those things are today versus without the cloud and the filter of the thing that you can't unsee, which is the childhood stories that were created and crafted for survival?
I have and I have not done a deep dive with it. So it's kind of been floating on the surface for quite some time. It comes in and then I do a little bit and push it away. And
Mm,
I almost wonder if some of it was just because I wasn't ready to deal with what would pop up.
yeah.
Um, some of it still focused on, okay, I had my business. I started to do the work. Then the business was blown over by a hurricane. Um, And now it's okay, I need to set up this certain amount of survival. I need to have the safety of the income in the new business and all that stuff before I start to dig into some of this other work. Right. So there's that resistance popping up of, okay, if my survival needs aren't met, then I'm not ready to go over here because this is going to take me back away from meeting those survival needs.
Is
So,
that another form of your avoidance?
ah, yeah.
I think about Kat, my friend Kat, she's a doctorate level psychologist, and she comes in when we do the summits and those sort of things, not to be a therapist, but to teach psychoeducation. And she always talks about like radical acceptance, right? It's like radical acceptance. This is my reality. This is my truth. This is my truth of what happened, when I was a kid. This is my truth of how I show up today. This is my truth of my reality today. My foundation isn't as stable as I'd like it to be, and I get to honor and like accept that, like that is my truth right now, but I also then get to decide what's my next step. Where am I? But if you don't have the wherewithal to really honor your actual truth of what your reality is, then there's no step you can take to move yourself anywhere because it's a lot lie on some level, right? And so it's like this, I don't know, like you talk about avoidance, and I think we all avoid the uncomfortable on some level. And when we start looking at the really deep, deeper stuff, the stuff that we've been staying busy because we haven't wanted to look at it, right? That kind of stuff. I think the tendency to avoid gets sneakier and more stubborn, um, and harder to see sometimes.
Mhm.
And so then it's like, I think that's where, to your point, like where the coaches come in and where the good honest conversations with friends comes in and where the radical honesty within yourself gets to be appreciated and looked at and welcomed versus
Mhm.
hidden. Um, I don't know. You talking about like you acknowledge that you're avoiding it. You
Mhm.
acknowledge that it was more comfortable in the discomfort than it might be to step out of that. But you also acknowledge that you have an awareness around these things now, and that you've been even just very recently uncovering some really loud, impactful stories that are part of your truth.
Mhm.
And also, they're actually old stories. Like they're not true today.
Right.
Nobody's telling you that today except maybe you.
But it's funny to point out that I was avoiding it. And when I realized I was avoiding it, then once that realization, once my brain actually let me see that I was avoiding it, that's when I went, okay, I have to do this work. And then I started. I literally enrolled in a program that's going to help me do the work
Yeah.
as soon as I noticed it too. So that's kind of been the growth path, but still it's that question of, okay, how do I access what I'm avoiding in a more timely manner before it starts to fester and become something that's so out of hand that it's not now, and instead of being just a small anthill, it's a mountain of shit I have to deal with. Um,
Does that have to be
so-
true? I mean, yes, on some level, I do get what you're saying. And when you label it that way, there's like a piece of that that perhaps makes it bigger than it actually might be. Does that make sense?
mhm. That's the monster in the closet theory that I use. It's
Yeah.
when there's a monster in the closet, it's scary until you shine a light on it.
Lee and Michelle continue their conversation next week. Well, again, how they can find you, will you?
Oh, sure. Okay. So you can find me on social media, Lee Aaron Smart. I'm on Facebook and LinkedIn prominently. Um, but my website, leeasmart.com. You can go on there. There's a Let's Talk button. Just hit the button, schedule a call. All my first sessions are free as a coach. I want to make sure, first and foremost, that we can work together, that we have a good relationship, that we can connect. Because all great coaching starts with a great relationship. And so I just want to make sure that whoever I work with, that I can serve. And then from that point, we move forward as necessary. I don't ever want to be salesy.
Yeah.
Everybody that I talk to, it's either hell yes or hell no. I try not to have an in between. So the only
I
way to
love
know
it.
that is to have that conversation.
Yeah. And I'm guessing you're not going to be talking about the weather. I'm guessing you're going to go a smidgy deeper than that.
Yeah, I mean, we could talk about favorite colors and favorite cars, and that'll be the real deep stuff, right?
You got to start somewhere, I guess.
Yeah, like what's your favorite food?
That's amazing. Thank you for sharing this time today. I really appreciate it. It
Oh,
was
thank you so
delightful.
much for having me on. I'm looking forward to more of our conversations.
Yeah, me too. It's good. All right. So you can find us on social media. The links will be in the episode details. And that's it for now. Bye. Be you every day.